New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has welcomed a Pacific Islands summit hosted by US President Joe Biden, but says she hopes it will be in the region's best interests. Live to our New Zealand Bureau Chief Jessica Maggio now. Jess, how significant is this summit?
Well, Pete, this is the first ever Pacific Islands summit that's being hosted by the United States, and it's really drawing attention to the fact that the US wants to reposition its place in the Pacific. Now, that's very likely, in fact, almost certainly a direct response to China's increasing presence and ongoing coercion in the region. There hasn't been an assertion like this for quite some time, so it is rather significant. Now, there are reports it's already gone off to a rocky start, with the Solomon Islands refusing to sign a joint declaration as nominated by Joe Biden, but that may not come as a surprise, considering earlier this year the Solomon Islands struck up a deal with China. We also know earlier this month that the Solomon Islands refused to let the US naval ships refuel in the region. They barred them from entering. The US is trying to reopen its embassy in the Solomon Islands and establish a new embassy in Tonga. So there is increasing tension in the region. There are 12 leaders that are attending this summit over the next 2 days, but they say they don't want to be a geopolitical pawn in this rivalry between the US and China, and that they're hoping that their interests will be met. Now, I asked Jacinda Ardern earlier this week what she thought about the summit, considering she had met Joe Biden in June to discuss this cooperation within the Pacific, and she said so long as the interests of the Pacific Islands was being met, then she would be supportive of it.
I think any engagement with our region needs to be because of the relationship between that country and the Pacific. It should never be as a response to anyone else's activity. The number one issue generally for our region is climate change, and so I know that's their ask of anyone who chooses to engage in our backyard.
Now, whether these Pacific Islands nations like it or not, they have become a geopolitical pawn. In fact, the Indo-Pacific coordinator of the White House, Kurt Campbell, earlier this week said that this was a direct response to the rivalry between the US and China. So they are both still trying to assert that dominance. Pete?
Jessica Maggio, thank you.